This is Jason Dutton. Welcome to our very first Content Marketing Meetup group. I'm really excited to have you all here and joining me today. And just so you know, during the live sessions, there was 2 live sessions recorded yesterday. There was a couple of issues with the video, so I am re-recording this entire session today, but I have 3 questions that were asked that I will repeat at the end of the session as well. So today this will go for about 30 minutes or so, and I'll come to the Q&A at the end of the session. There also have my contact details up there. So if you did have any further questions or would like any more information about what I talk about today, please feel free to contact me at any time. So without further ado, I will start sharing my screen here with you and we will jump right into the presentation. There we go. So again, welcome to Content Marketing 101. It's our very first meetup. My plan is to actually host these meetings monthly, and they will be virtual. So they will be hosted with a US time, US friendly time, and an Australian friendly time as well. So I'll always have 2 options available in the meetup group. One will be clearly marked as the Australian time, so feel free to select whichever time suits you best there. I will also look at having some different speakers come in over the next few months, and we'll start deep diving right into content marketing. So today we're going to talk about Content Marketing 101. So as our first meetup group, it made sense that we just talk about content marketing as an overview, which is what we'll do today. So some quick details about myself. All About Content Marketing is my business that I run here out of Nashville. And I'm a content marketer and strategist. I have been for just over 20 years now. I'm a multi-award-winning publisher and travel writer. So while my entire career has been in the travel industry over many different verticals, all the fundamental content marketing are the same regardless of the industry that you actually work in. So whatever I talk about today, and I have some non-travel examples as well, but whatever we talk about today can be pushed across any industry that you do work in. As part of All About Content Marketing, what I focus on is custom publishing. So I work with travel brands to produce digital and printed magazines. This is just a quick sample of different ones that I've produced, and here are the brands that I've worked for. So from a tourism board point of view, I've worked with Hong Kong Tourism and Colorado Tourism, amongst several others. I've also worked with some of the big name tour companies, Backroads or Blue Roads as they're known in the US, Colette, Viking, and I've also worked for Better Homes and Gardens magazine. I introduced the travel section for the Better Homes and Gardens Australian version of the magazine, and I was the travel editor there for 12 months. I also worked at Flight Centre Travel Group. It's a very large travel group. I was the editor-in-chief there for 5 years. I looked after 7 of their travel brands and across content, social media, and PR. So that's a quick 101 about me, but what about the 101 of content marketing? Today we're going to talk about what is content marketing, but more importantly, how can it help your business? In today's presentation, I'm going to go over a couple of topics here. First, we're going to talk about the different types of content. We're also going to talk about content marketing versus content strategy and what the difference is. We're going to look at a real-life content marketing success story, the 3 phases of the buying journey, and the 4 content pillars to brand. These are 4 content pillars that I've put together that work from a content strategy point of view. We're also going to touch on amplification, and then I'll run through the Q&A at the end here. So to kick us off, content. So when you think about the different types of content that are out there, your first thought is probably words on a page on a website, which is exactly what it is. That is absolutely one type of content, of course. A blog probably comes to mind as well. But content comes in many, many different forms. An FAQ page on your website is also a form of content. So is a white paper and magazines and blogging and ebooks and podcasts and videos. I mean, podcasts and videos are obviously the hottest thing in content marketing right now for very good reason. Not everybody does it, but the point is not everybody should either. And this is the thing when we're looking at the types of content that we want to use or we're looking at using to promote our product or our service or our brand, what works for one person may not work for the next. So as a quick example, I mentioned before, I looked after 7 different travel brands when I was editor-in-chief of Flight Centre. Within those 7 travel brands, I actually deployed different types of content for different brands based on what resonated with the audience. And this is the entire purpose of content marketing, is finding what works with your audience, what resonates, and then producing more of that as we go. So I wanted to quickly touch on content strategy. While it's very similar to content marketing, they do have very distinct roles and purposes that they play. So content strategy is around the planning for the creation, delivery, and the governance of useful, usable content. What content strategy also does, it's also the what is it, why are we doing it, how are we doing it, when are we doing it, what part of our audience are we doing it for, who is going to do it, how often, and all those types of questions. It's basically the who, what, why, when, and how of content. And that's what we do from a content strategy point of view. I was just recently on a different webinar with Amelia Marshall. She's the content strategist at Canva. And she said, content strategy, I don't know her. And what she actually meant by this is that a lot of us are actually content strategists already. We already work in this vertical and we already are performing content strategy and we're also working in content marketing, but chances are we actually don't realize that we're doing it. And part of this is, as content strategists and marketers, you would think that we would, be able to clearly define our roles, but here we are. A universal title would be good, but there is a slight difference between strategy and marketing, and I just wanted to put that out there and ensure that we all understood the difference. Strategy is also a bottoms-up approach. So the way I like to explain this, content strategy is similar to when you build a house. Think about when you're building a house, you have to put down a really solid foundation before you can put up the walls, the roof, and well before you can even come to the bright and shiny things inside, right? So when you think about building a house or building a content strategy, what we're talking about there is we need a solid foundation to start with. We need to, as a business or a brand, we need to understand what we want to achieve with our content, who are we going to be talking to, and how are we going to achieve the outcome, the desired outcome. So with the strategy, we need everybody involved in the planning, the input, and we need to get buy-in as well. This also is true for content marketing. But if everyone gets the initial buy-in from content strategy and we've set that solid foundation, then it's much easier when it comes to the content marketing part and moving forward. So your content strategy will also define your success. Requirements are not a list, they're living, breathing objects, and they have real people behind it. So what we're talking about there is if you have a solid foundation and a solid content strategy that's been signed off and agreed to, it makes it so much easier to go forward. But if something is not working correctly, you take one of those types of content that we mentioned before and it's just not working, that's okay. This is why it's a living, breathing object. We need to go in there, tweak the levers of the content strategy, and make sure we're doing what works for us at the time. Content marketing. Content marketing is the distribution of valuable, compelling content to attract, acquire, engage our defined and understood audience with the objective of driving a profitable customer outcome. So it's a little bit of a word salad there. So let's break that down. What I'm basically saying is content marketing is about connecting your brand with your audience. And we do that by delivering useful, relevant, and timely information. Rob, the Content Marketing Institute out of Cleveland, he describes it as traditional marketing is telling the world you're a rock star. Content marketing is showing the world you are one. And Doug Kessler from Velocity Partners says that even more succinctly, traditional marketing talks at people, content marketing talks with them. So to break that down, traditional marketing, if you think of a standard advert in a newspaper or magazine, It has a product and a price. That's traditional marketing that's talking at people. Hey, here's a product, here's a price, go buy it. What the difference with content marketing is that we talk with the customer or with the reader or your audience. So we're not necessarily talking about price, we're talking about benefits. Our job as content marketers is to sell the dream, convince them why this product is best for them, how is this product going to solve their solution or their problem, and why they need to consult and interact with our brand. That's what our job as content marketers is to do. But here's the thing. Now, I don't want to burst anybody's bubble here, but people actually don't care about us. They don't care about our products. They don't care about our service. All they care about is themselves, their issues, their wants, and their needs. So in short, what people want from us is they want a solution. So our brand or product or service, we need to provide the solution that people are looking for. So take a second and think about how you search in Google as an example, or any search engine. When you're typing something into Google, what are you doing? You're typing in a question and you're looking for an answer to that question. No matter what that question is, who flies between Australia and the US? What's the nutritional value of avocado? How many M&Ms are in a family-sized bag of M&Ms? Whatever you're typing into a search engine, you're looking for an answer to a question. And our job as content marketers is to surface the answer or the solution to their question or their problem at the time that they're looking for it. And we'll go through the 3 different phases in just a few minutes. Here's the thing with Google. There are 3 million searches per minute or 5.8 billion searches per day. Now, this is an astronomical amount of searches that's happening every day. So quite simply, how do you stand out from the crowd? So look at this crowd here. Just think of this as the search results in Google. When you type in your question into Google, often you'll say, there'll be like 1.6 million answers to your question. So think of this crowd of people. How do you stand out from this crowd? Now, I have a term that I use quite often, and it's called, what's your pink shirt? You need to find your pink shirt. So look at this crowd of people. When you do see that guy in the pink shirt, well, now he seems really obvious, right? He's standing out from the crowd, and just a quick scan over there, you can't really see any other pink shirts in there. So what we need to do as content marketers is to create and curate content that delivers our pink shirt. We need to stand out from the crowd, and we need to be bigger and better than our competitors with whatever content we're producing. How do we do that? It's all about the story. I talk about this a lot from a content marketing perspective. It's all about the story. And when I say all about the story, I mean it's about delivering that useful, that timely, and that relevant content to our reader or our audience at the time they're looking for it. A really good example of content marketing is the Home Depot, which is the equivalent of Bunnings in Australia. Home Depot, what they do is they have throughout their website, of course they have all their products and their prices, and you can order online and ship and so forth, but they have an entire section dedicated to content marketing. So they have, and this is just one page example, a tile calculator, a countertop calculator. They've got a calculator on everything, mulch, moving, anything you can think of. What they also do is have an entire section of how-to videos. So they don't just let you calculate how much countertop is actually required. That will also give you a how-to video of how to install it and how to look after your countertop and how to clean your countertop and a whole wealth of other information. So they do a really fantastic job. And what they're doing with this is they're imparting their knowledge and their wisdom through content marketing, and they're building trust and they're building loyalty with their customers. So come the time that those customers want to transact, they're going to go to the Home Depot because they're like, well, these guys are absolutely the experts in their field. I'm going to go buy my products now through them. It's a really great content marketing effort that they put in. What they're the masters of is selling their unique story like no one else can. So no one knows your product or your brand or your service like you do and your staff do. So you know it so well, you know it inside out. So what we need to do is find your unique story and then sell it like no one else can. The way that we do this is by creating useful, time relevant content. I know I've said this a few times already, but this is what content marketing is all about. This is how we deliver the value to our customers that they're looking for. And if you take only one thing away from this presentation, let it be this: people buy into you before they buy from you. So I'll just repeat that. People buy into you before they buy from you. This is really important because, like the Home Depot example where they produce all that beautiful content, that's getting people to buy into them and to their brand and their products and the service that they offer. And then people will buy from them. So it's a really good example of how we can achieve this with our own brands. So next I want to Schlitz Beer, which is an American beer company. It was a content marketing success story that I thought was really interesting and fascinating to share with you. What makes this even more fascinating is that Schlitz beer has been around since the early 20th century. So back in the early 1900s, Schlitz beer, who is based out of Milwaukee in Wisconsin, they had a problem. They had this fantastic beer that people certainly loved it when they tried it, but they were finding it really difficult to get cut through in the North American beer market at the time. So what they did is they employed Claude Hopkins. Now, Claude Hopkins, in our content marketing circles, we often kind of pump him up as the grandfather of content marketing. He was quite the genius of his day. And as an example, he was so sought after that he could demand up to $100,000 per ad campaign. So I did a quick conversion of what is $100,000 in the early 1900s in today's value. It's 2.5 million US dollars. This is insane. Imagine being so popular and so sought after that you can command $2.5 million just through one ad campaign, and he also took a percentage of sales. So he was quite the remarkable guy for many different reasons. And for Claude, words mattered, and finding the unique story really mattered for Claude Hopkins. So what he did is he took Schlitz beer from number 8 to number 1 in the country, and he did this with some really clever content marketing of the day. So Claude went into Schlitz beer and he went into the brewers and spoke with every single one of them and said, "Tell me about your product. What is it about your product that is unique? What is different? What can we sell to our customers who want to sample your beer?" And the brewers kind of scratched their head and they're just like, "Well, we really don't know, but this is what we do. We air constantly. We clean our pots twice daily and we sterilize our bottles 4 times before we fill them. And we don't take the water from Lake Michigan, take it from a 1,400-foot well that we've dug. That way we know we can ensure that we've got the most pure, crispest and cleanest water out there." So for Claude, this was a total pink shirt moment. He found something unique about the company that could help him sell Schlitz beer. But here's the kicker here. Every company, beer company or brewing company, had the exact same process, which is quite remarkable. The difference being that no one had actually told this unique story before, which is remarkable. So Claude Hopkins took this pink shirt moment and he pulled that unique story together and pushed it out there. Claude, it was all about the story, and he took Schlitz beer from number 8 in the country to number 1, where they sat for many years to come. Here's a couple of little examples of Claude's advertising that he put out there, and the left is quite classic. I will download these PDFs to be available online for everybody to look at. But what I found fascinating about this ad is that he's talking to his audience. He's got 2 gentlemen in a bar after work having a beer. And interestingly, he's actually talking about how his doctor recommends Schlitz beer because it is the cleanest, the most purest, and is germ-free because of the sterilization process and several other benefits. Now, we as content marketers, we wouldn't write that story today, obviously. But back in the day, this is what Claude pushed out there to help Schlitz beer. And it worked. It absolutely worked. So I want to move on to the three phases of the journey. Now, this may come as a surprise to everybody. This is something that you've seen or already know. But I wanted to talk about the three different phases, and then I've got some real life examples that we can apply to it as well. So the three phases of the buyer's journey is first, it's about awareness, then they're in the consideration stage, and then there's the decision or the transaction stage. So people are in the awareness stage. What are they doing? They're looking for a solution. As I mentioned about Google before, you type in questions, you're looking for an answer or a solution to a problem, or you're just simply looking for information, of course. They haven't landed on a brand just yet. They're still in the discovery phase. What our job as content marketers is to ensure that we build loyalty and trust with our brand and our audience. And we can do that by answering our customers' questions before they even know what to ask. And there's many ways that we can do this. We'll go through some examples. Phase two is a consideration phase where, okay, they know what's wrong or they've settled on whatever the question that they were seeking, and now they're actively looking for a solution. They're researching what the best solution is for the issue, and now our job is to ensure that our brand is part of their solution. Whatever that solution is, we need to be in front of them right now. So obviously the last is the decision phase. So they're ready to purchase. They're building, we've built customer loyalty and trust through the first two stages. So just like the Home Depot example, now they're ready to purchase. Hopefully we're going to be rewarded with that sale. And that's the whole premise of surfacing different types of content in the three different phases of the buyer's journey. We need to be where they are in their own predetermined journey. So here's a quick example. This is an image of Holstedt in Austria. So just drawing on my travel background here, but if you haven't been to Holstedt in Austria, put it on your bucket list. It is absolutely exactly as the picture is. It is stunning. It's a really great little village, and it's a fantastic country to visit. So if we think of the three different phases, how can we produce content, or what content can we produce to help support those three different phases? So the first phase is awareness. So at this stage, they may not know that they want to go to Austria. They just know they want to go to Europe. So how do we convince them or help them narrow down their search within Europe? So it could be content such as, river cruising versus land touring, which is better for Europe. What do I need to know about summer versus winter in Europe, and different content and different information around that. They're in that awareness stage. So our job is to help whittle them down to the destination or destinations that they want to go to. And then next phase is the consideration phase. Now they've decided, okay, I'm going to Europe, I'm going to Austria, I'm really interested in Holstedt. What do I need to know now? So the type of content we could produce there would be, we can take the summer versus winter again, but summer versus winter in Austria. Narrow that down and give them a little bit more of a relevant information for the search that they're looking for, which in this case is Austria. And then there's the purchase phase. So there's all kinds of information we can produce for the purchase phase. They're going to Austria. What are the things that they need to know? So who flies between here and Austria? Do I need a visa? How safe is it to travel in Austria? How do I book a trip to Austria? There's all kinds of information that we can surface. So you can see that just through those very brief examples there, there's different types of content that we can produce to connect with our audience during the different phases of their predetermined journey. Now, the theory here is that if we can surface in all three phases, then we're going to build loyalty and trust with our brand and our audience, and then they will transact with us. We'll be rewarded with that sale. Help make some sense out of that for you. So next is the 4 content pillars to deliver value. Now, I've actually written quite a long form piece about this, and I really deep dive into some examples for you as well in the presentation here that you're welcome to just to check it out a little bit more. But the 4 content pillars that I devised to deliver value are the following. We need to be a market leader. We need to be a thought provoker, a trusted advisor, and or an authority leader. So these are the types of pillars that I put into a content strategy and the content marketing calendar. What content falls into one of these categories? So let's talk about a market leader. What I mean there is that we don't want to be part of the crowd. We want to stand out from the crowd. We need to find our pink shirt and stand heads and shoulders above the crowd in the search results or on our website, and obviously stand apart from our competitors. So don't be part of the crowd. Make sure you stand out the crowd with the best, most useful, relevant, and timely content you can produce. To be a thought provoker, to create or curate content that delivers value and purpose in our niche. We don't want it to be a poorly disguised sales pitch, and this is really important here. So if we think back to that definition from Rob Rose about content marketing, traditional marketing is talking at people, content marketing is talking with them. So we don't want to ensure that we're not doing traditional marketing with our content marketing efforts. We have separate areas for that, and there's separate ways to produce that content, obviously, but we don't want to put out a poorly disguised sales story. We want to deliver value and purpose, exactly like Home Depot do, or exactly how Claude Hopkins did as well. And we want to be a trusted advisor. So guide your audience throughout their buyer's journey. So wherever they are in those 3 phases of the buyer journey, we want to make sure that we surface content, and we want to make sure that we're guiding them with useful, timely, relevant information throughout the entire journey. Most importantly, we need to give them a reason to remember us. If we can, with so much content in the world, we are so saturated with content and with choices and with options every single day. It's so easy to find information that we need to not only stand out with our pink shirt, but we need to give them a reason to remember us with our content. And to be an authority leader, that's about building loyalty and trust with our high value content. The idea there, like similar to the 3 phases, is if we can surface high value content and build loyalty and trust, we will ultimately be rewarded with their trust, and they will come transact with us. That's the theory behind being the authority leader. So here's that link I mentioned. It's for a deep dive. I have a lot more information, a lot more examples that you can read through as well. So click on that link when you see this, and please read some more about it. So one of the last things I wanted to touch on was amplification. Now, it's not good enough to have the most awesome piece of content out there if nobody sees it. If we don't amplify our content and push it out there and let people read and find it and value it, then it's just a waste of time. We wasted our time, we wasted our energy, and we've wasted our money. So if you create that awesome piece of content, then let's shout it from the rooftops and get it out there. Or as John Steinberg from BuzzFeed said, content is king, but distribution is queen, and she wears the pants. So it's such a great quote from John, and a very typical John quote there, but it's absolutely true. We've got this awesome piece of content. Let's get it out there to be found. I like to refer to it as gremlin your content. Yes, I'm referring to that 80s cult classic movie Gremlins there. But what I mean by gremlin your content is, how do you turn one story into many? Let's look at it another way. In the US, on Thanksgiving, you have a big turkey dinner. In Australia, our big turkey dinner is on Christmas Day. So what do you do with that turkey dinner? You're probably not going to get through the entire turkey in one seating, are you? So you're going to have leftovers, right? So what do you do with that leftover turkey? You turn it into turkey soup, you make turkey salad, you make turkey sandwiches, you're eating turkey for the rest of the week. Now, we do this because we don't want to waste a beautiful bird, right? But we do, if we relate this to our content, what we're doing is we're turning our piece of content into many stories. So take that awesome piece of content, put it up on your website, which is probably automatic, but push it out on a LinkedIn post and other social media channels that you have. Make sure it's shared to the world and you've got it out there for everyone to find. Do you have an audience where you can send it through direct mail, turn it into a brochure or a small magazine and send it out to your high value clients or prospective new clients? Put it in your newsletters. Can you make a slide share out of it? Is it suitable for a podcast or a white paper? Take all those types of content that we looked at before and see if your one awesome article or piece of content can be pushed out into multiple pieces, video as well, of course. Which brings me to not a strategy. So what I mean by this is that we have all different types of content available to us or that we can create. We can't just put a piece of content up and leave it. We can't launch and leave it. We need to commit to the complexities of our content and obviously the time and resources required to do that. The content system needs to be sustainable and it needs to be renewable. And what I mean here is let's just take our current climate of coronavirus and COVID-19. The content that we produced 6 months ago for our audience is not relevant where we are today in amidst the pandemic. Now, that content from 6 months ago in the future will absolutely be relevant again. Of course it will be. But right now, right here, it's probably not as relevant as it once was. So we can't just launch and leave that content. We need to take it and either repurpose it or update it to today's environment. And we need to keep doing that. So when I talk about committing to the complexities of the content, that's just an example of what I mean there. And remember our definition of content strategy: useful, relevant, timely content. We need to be in the here and the now. We can't just launch and leave that one little piece of content. There's a couple of companies out there that can also help you with your amplification. So two companies that I've used in the past are Taboola and Outbrain. These are companies that take your story on your website and they amplify it on your behalf. So they're normally surfaced on news sites. So if you're on a news website, let's say CNN.com, and you scroll down to the bottom of a story, there's often related content or more content you may be interested in. Often these are going to be Outbrain or Taboola sponsored posts, and they will push them off from that website to your website so people can read some related information. It's a great theory behind Taboola and Outbrain and how they do it. A lot of it is for clickbait, which I'm absolutely not a fan of. Clickbait is not relevant, timely, and useful information in majority of the cases. It's just trying to get your eyeballs up. We need to produce content that's not only timely, relevant, and useful, but it's going to stand the test of time as well. So evergreen content is important. And that's what we need to commit to. Yeah, here. So here's a couple of key takeaways for you. So remember, how do we stand out from the crowd? Find your pink shirts. Think like Claude Hopkins and find your pink shirt and your unique story to stand out from the crowd and, more importantly, stand head and shoulders above your competitors. Remember, people buy into you before they buy from you. So you need to be part of their predetermined journey and ensure that you surface content when it's relevant to them. And the more they buy into you, the more chances that they're going to transact with you directly. The predetermined journey, once upon a time in marketing or content marketing as well, we were able to determine what that journey was and dictate a lot of the terms. But with the internet as it is today, there is so much information. We are so saturated and so overwhelmed with information that we can't do that anymore. The best we can do today is ensure that we surface different types of content, whatever that may be, at the right time in their buyer's journey. So whether they're in the awareness, the consideration, or the transaction stage, we need to ensure that we have the right content delivered to the right person at the right time. And of course, find your unique story. Don't be equal to your competitor. Let's be better. And this is a little phrase that I like to put out there. You didn't fail, you tested. So when I used to teach ADMA content marketing students in Australia, and one of the things this is one of the quotes I always put out there: you didn't fail, you tested. If you take one of those pieces of content and it didn't work for you, that's okay. This is why our content strategy is a living, breathing document. So we're committing to the complexities of that. That didn't work, that's okay. Let's take it out and let's just move on, and we'll tweak the levers and we'll try something else instead. So remember, you didn't fail, you tested, and not everything is going to work for everybody. Just because someone has a Facebook page doesn't mean you need a Facebook page, or Twitter or any other social media. Just because someone's doing video doesn't mean you need to do video. What our job as content marketers is to find what works for us, what type of content works for us, and then make sure that we deliver that content to our audience. Whatever's resonating with them, that's what we deliver. So much for joining me. I do have a couple of questions here from the live sessions that I will just read out again. And just before I do that, again, thank you for joining me. This has been fantastic. It's our very first content marketing meetup group. I hope you can please join me for future editions as well. And I will endeavour to have speakers come in wherever possible. And just a quick FYI for next month, the topic is going to be 9 reasons why you need content and how to produce content on little to no budget. So I always get a lot of interest in this topic of why we need it and how to produce it with little to no budget. So it's going to be a really good one, and I really hope you can join me on that one. I will have the details up on Meetup in the next couple of days for you. Please find me on LinkedIn and Twitter, of course. Just looking at the questions that came through in their live sessions, Jill had 2 questions. One of her questions was, Jason, you talked about the content foundation and how to build this. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? What exactly are we talking about? So that question, Jill, was being related to our content strategy. So the analogy I was using was, when we build a house, we need that solid foundation before you can put the walls and the roof and all the bright and shiny things inside. Without a solid foundation or a solid content strategy in this instance, we'll be rudderless with what we're going to produce going forward. So we need to ensure that we've got a very defined purpose and way going forward, so we can curate and create the most useful, relevant content that we can for our audience. So that's what I meant by a solid content foundation there. Jill also asked, how do we find which phases our audience is in and find the questions that they're looking for? So this was a good question, Jill, because I talked about the 3 different phases of the buyer's journey. So to find, which is what the question's related to here. So one of the ways that you can find what questions they're looking for or what phase they're in is Googling your product or your service or your brand in Google like a customer. So don't think of, if you're going to Google, and think of what would people be searching for if they're searching for my brand. Type that in. Now, hopefully your brand will come right at the top of the, or at least the first page of the search results. But if they don't, we need to look at, well, why? Are we not talking to our audience in one of those phases? The question that I put into Google, what phase does that actually belong to? And what are my competitors doing? Whoever shows up on that first page is your direct competitor. So look at what they're doing, and can you do it better? Or are they doing something that you're not? Just look at it that way. And another great way is, and I haven't touched on this during the presentation, but is focus groups. Now, not everybody can do focus groups or afford to do a focus group, but what a focus group is and does, it takes a core segment of your audience, brings them into a room. You normally have to bribe them with some pizza or beer at the end of it. And it's a series of very pointed questions to them. And what this does is reveals exactly what real people in the real world are actually thinking of our brand or product or service. Now, it can be really confronting and we need to look past that. But what you will get is a very true and honest reflection of what people think about you. And that's what we're searching for. I've got some information on my allaboutcontentmarketing.com website that talks about focus groups as well and how you can produce. I've got a link on there actually to a company that has some ideas on how you can produce your own focus group as well. So thank you for those questions, Jill. And Melanie asked in Australia. Now, Melanie, apologies, you actually asked me two questions, and unfortunately the recording didn't go through as I mentioned. So, but there was one question that I absolutely remember that you asked, which was how Melanie works in travel. And the question was, how do we sell one destination season when we're in another season? So at the moment in Australia, they're currently in their winter season. So how do they sell the summer season or vice versa? Melanie, this is such a great question, and I'm so glad you asked this because this was one of the challenges I had when I was at Flight Centre. Flight Centre was very reactive about the here and now and getting the inquiry in the door, which all businesses have to do. There's no question and no debate about that whatsoever. What I wanted to do, and thinking about the three stages of the customer journey, is I was always saying we need to look at what people are Googling and when they are Googling and trying to search this information. Here's a real life example for you. Through discovery and some research, I found that in January and February in Australia, which is the summer months, people are Googling ski and snow trips during the summer. Now they're doing this for a couple of reasons. One, they're trying to decide where they want to go on a on their snow or ski holiday or vacation, and they're obviously looking for information about that. So my argument is we need to be. This is the awareness stage. We need to be part of that awareness stage. So even though the ski season in Australia really isn't, it's kind of like June to September thereabouts, but we need to be producing content and giving information when the customer or when our audience is looking for it. We also need to do it in those couple of months, during the high booking period, and we also need to do it for those last minute people. One last example I'll give you that's travel related also is people actually have 3 holidays or vacations on their mind right now. Now you probably have no idea what these 3 are or realize that you're doing it, but I can guarantee basically everybody have these 3 holidays or vacations in the planning as we speak. One is the quick weekend getaway. I just want to get away for the weekend. What's something within an hour or two drive or a quick flight away. Second is your annual leave. Okay, I've got 2 weeks off in October. Where are we going to do? Where are we going to go? What are we going to do? And then the third is a bucket list trip. Everybody has that bucket list trip in mind. I want to do a safari in Africa. I want to do the Christmas markets in Germany, whatever it may be. Everyone has their own bucket list trip. So we're always thinking of 3 different types of travel there. It's our weekend getaway, it's our annual leave, and it's our bucket list trip. So similar thing, we need to be talking to people in all 3 phases of their buyer journey when it comes to those 3 types of travel as well. So hopefully that helped answer that question, Melanie, and more than happy, please, my details are on the screen here. Please contact me if you'd like any more information. Always pleased to help. Were the questions that came up from the live sessions. So once again, thank you so much for joining me. I was so excited to kick off our very first content marketing meetup group. I will be doing these sessions every month. There will always be a US friendly time and an Australia friendly time. I have clients in both countries, so I work all kinds of weird hours. But please join me again next month. We will talk about 9 reasons why you need content and how to produce content on the cheap. And that's it. Once again, thank you so much. I really do appreciate your time. And I look forward to meeting everybody next month. I'm just going to stop sharing the video here and we'll get the session ended. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy your day.